Am I on? I think I'm on. Am on. How y'all doing? Thank you for tuning into Gloves Off this Tuesday at 4 o'clock. Our speakers are a little loud, so we got to adjust them a little. Today I have a new producer or associate producer. What's your name again?
Deidre.
Deidre. Deidre and I have been friends forever, so every once in a while I forget her name, which is very helpful. Deidre Kaplan.
Deidre Nicole Krause.
There you go. Anyway, how's everybody doing today? We'll have our guest, but he's running a little late today, so we figured we'd do a little topics first. And disclaimer. We got to throw the disclaimer up. That's right. The opinions of the host, guest, and any callers and anyone who comments are not representative of the opinions of Mr. Singer's employer or anyone associated with Gloves Off.
Especially Deidre.
Yeah. So let's talk about Palmetto Bay for 2 minutes. So last night I was on a conference call with the commander of Palmetto Bay's police force, and I'm going to preface this by saying that I think the police force is doing a great job in Palmetto Bay, but there are a couple of issues that should be looked at. One of the issues is that the cost of the police force in Palmetto Bay is 51% of the annual budget, or somewhere around $9 million. So right now we pay $9 million for the police force. And one of the comments I had with the commander, who's extremely professional, was how much of the police force, or the cost of the police force, is paid in overtime to the officers. And she came back with about 10%. So about $800,000 to $900,000 is paid in overtime. And if it was up to me, I'd get rid of some of that overtime and hire a couple more police officers, because I think that more boots on the ground would be helpful in Palmetto Bay, help reduce crime. Right now, the police officers who are making overtime are making about 1.5% of or 150% of what their hourly rate is, and that's about, like I said, $900,000, and we could do a lot more with the $900,000. And if the police officers need to make more money, they could work off duty. I just had a party at my house on Saturday night, hired an off-duty police officer, and it was about $75 an hour. I'm not sure how much of that goes to police officers, but if they need to subsidize their income, it would be best that they work off duty. Number two is there was one police officer that's a lieutenant of Palmetto Bay that makes up about 8 to 10% of that overtime. He brought in, his salary is about $120,000 a year. He brought in $60,000 in overtime, which is probably about 33%, somewhere around 33% of his salary or 40% of his salary in overtime, which is, in my opinion, is absolutely ridiculous, because once again, you could probably hire another officer with what he's making in overtime. In addition to that, I found out that we're subsidizing, the residents of Palmetto Bay are subsidizing a vendor who runs a flea market or farmer's market at Car Reef Park, and he's not paying for all the officers at the park. So the citizens or residents of Palmetto Bay are subsidizing his for-profit farmer's market, which I think is ridiculous. He should be paying for all the police officers that are at the park at the time, and the residents should not be picking up any of the cost of his farmer's market, which apparently the residents are picking up a majority of his costs, including employees working the parks while he's having the farmer's market on Saturday, and any kind of employees of Village Palmetto Bay that he has a farmer's market Thursday at Palmetto Bay Park. That's off 168th Street and US 1. So that's the rundown.
Do most farmers markets have police presence?
I think that they do, and I think that
I've never seen one at Pinecrest.
You never see one at Pinecrest?
No.
I think that if they do, and I think I've seen one at Pinecrest. I think I've seen one officer at Pinecrest. I think it's a valid requirement. I think it's ridiculous that Scott has a farmer's market, and that basically the residents are paying for the police, except for one officer, which he's reimbursing the Village of Palmetto Bay for but he should be reimbursing for all the expenses. I think right now the only thing he does is he pays the Village of Palmetto Bay $1,000, which does not reimburse nearly the cost associated with the farmers market, either on Saturdays or Thursday afternoon. So that's it. Oh, look, Mo just showed up.
We're starting a new
we're starting a new
segment this week.
That's right.
In the news.
In the news. So we're going to talk about a couple things. Number one, we're going to talk about it's day 44. 64. I'm sorry, 64 of the war in Ukraine. Thank you, dear. And the invasion by Russia. You want to sit down? Don't stand there. You can at least sit down. I think I'm breaking everybody's rules. Yeah. So anyway, so it's day number 64 of the slaughter of Ukraine citizens by Russia. We just we're having, believe it or not, we're having a Ukrainian family move into Palmetto Bay. I think next week.
I was wondering how you were going to bring this back to Palmetto Bay.
I'm not, but I actually offered to. They're going to live with a family in actually Pinecrest. I'm sorry, not Palmetto Bay, but Pinecrest, and this nice woman who's taking in this family has asked for any kind of donations of clothes. They came over here without any clothes on their back.
Do you know how to get?
Yeah, she's on Facebook. Unfortunately, it's if you have to be a member of one of the pages in Facebook. I've offered to take them to Marshall's and buy them a whole bunch of clothes because I think it would be interesting to see their faces when they buy all new clothes.
Why not the design district?
Yeah, I can't. I'm not that rich. That's funny. Anyway, so I think the United States. I don't think personally that the United States is doing enough to end the war. I think actually Britain. This camera. I think actually Britain is doing a much better job. I think we need to give them more weapons and more aid.
So basically, this is turning into a proxy war. Is that
what that's what Russia claimed it was. But Russia actually has talked about nuclear weapons. And when you talk about nuclear weapons, it's okay, as far as I'm concerned, to have a proxy war. They've talked about invading other countries. They've talked about.
But do you think that's just posturing and anticipating, hoping that other countries won't get involved any longer?
Well, we're involved. I mean, the fact of the matter is, Russia's already threatened NATO. They've threatened all these other countries. They cut off the gas. They cut off the gas.
Everyone's now talking the dreaded shrinking of the economy, which is #recession.
Yeah, recession. So maybe our interest rates won't go up. But I mean, they threatened to cut off the gas. Well, they actually said unless Poland pays in rubles,
which they didn't,
they would cut off the gas. And so, it's a lot. I mean, it's just ridiculous what's going on. I mean, Putin is a nut.
Well, yeah, that goes without saying. But I'm gonna play devil's advocate for 1 second.
Okay, I'm gonna fight you on this because I know where you're going.
Where am I going? Let's see if you
go ahead. No, go ahead.
Going with this?
That it shouldn't be a proxy war. That we should let Ukraine defend itself.
No, I was just gonna say, is there a valid reason why Putin invaded Ukraine? Did Ukraine and Zelensky violate some kind of agreement that was previously stated that no one's talking about? I'd just like to know.
Okay, so from what I've read and I've understood, Ukraine had the third largest arsenal of nuclear weapons of any country in the world. Okay? Ukraine said, just leave us alone. Tell us that you won't invade us. You won't invade the country. Okay? Tell us that we'll be autonomous. Okay? We'll self-govern ourselves. Okay? You can have all our nuclear weapons. They gave all their nuclear weapons away. And 20 years later, okay, Russia decides that Ukraine should be part of Russia again. It would never happen if Ukraine kept those nuclear weapons. I mean, it's crazy. It's absolutely mind-boggling to me that in today's day and age, there would be a country that would invade another country. And the reason they did it is because Ukraine was thinking about joining NATO. NATO told Ukraine they couldn't join, okay, because of
agreement.
Agreement, or the fact that they were what they say, they were on the border because Russia doesn't want a NATO country on their border, which I understand. But there's a lot of other ways around what they could do. Then they didn't have to invade. And if you look at the invasion, they've slaughtered not only military, but they have mass graves everywhere. I mean, this is literally mirroring what the Nazis did, during World War II. They're just indiscriminately, sitting there and executing everybody.
Well, I think they're desperate, and I think it's an act of desperation. I don't think the war went according to plan. I don't think that they expected a fight. I thought they were going to just roll in there.
For a week,
with their antiquated, tanks and
they thought it was. You thought it was going to be a blitzkrieg.
Oh yeah, they thought they were going to go in there and they're going to muscle their way in. Everybody's just going to lay down, and it didn't happen. And now they're panicking, and unfortunately, this is what's happening.
I have a lot of respect for Ukraine and Ukrainians. I mean, come on, seriously, they've held off this. They have Russia has the third largest army right now in the world, behind China and the United States, and Ukraine is holding off. Ukraine is holding off their army, but they're sitting there and they're bombing hospitals, they're bombing nursing homes, they're bombing indiscriminately. I mean, they're what they're doing. People should be brought up on charges. Because they have been in the past.
Well, I want to bring up 2 points, and we can discuss these in detail if you'd like. Number one is I think people now realize that war today is a technology war. So I think that and I think this is actually a perfect example to show how obsolete Russian war machines are no longer effective in today's modern battlefield, right? Because you talk about the world's third largest army, and it's taken them this long to make any kind of advance. And if you've noticed that they're fighting back, again, if the sources are all true and what we're seeing is true in the media, just between the Stinger missiles and just between these javelins, these basically handheld weapons, they're able to stop helicopters, planes, and tanks. I mean, think about it for a second. Where a lone soldier, maybe working in a small group or team, can defend now against an armored unit, right? I mean, this is unheard of.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. So it's
you have 2 miles of tanks that are lined up going towards Kiev, and basically they've taken these Stinger missiles or whatever and blown away everybody.
Yeah,
completely. I think the count is up to 20,000 Russian soldiers that have been killed.
Yeah,
I mean that's crazy.
Well, what I think the next question is.
How to end it?
No, well, yeah, how to end it. But aren't we at a day and age where people have the wherewithal now? I mean, why are soldiers even fighting anymore? I don't get it.
Well, they're not. Well, you got the droids.
Somebody answer me that question.
You got. I think in the next couple of years, you're going to see a lot of unmanned vehicles, unmanned tanks, unmanned planes, unmanned helicopters, and they're gonna and the battlefields are basically going to be some kid with an Xbox.
But it's worse.
Okay? Yeah, absolutely. Some kid with an Xbox sitting there going, controlling all these different war machines.
Well, we're there now. I mean, if you think about it, most of these airstrikes now are from what? Drones.
Yeah.
And I truly believe that if it wasn't for the existing arsenals and the planes that the Air Force has and the pilots that are already trained, Air Force would be drones. I think the only reason why it's not fully automated is because of all the billions of dollars they have in existing aircrafts and pilots. I think that legitimately once those become obsolete and they're decommissioned, it's all going to be drone fighters. But there's a problem with that. Right now, people have a conscience. You can make a decision. Well, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. What's going to happen?
I don't think anybody in an airplane has been given orders. Pilot that's been given orders to bomb a city is going to turn around and say, "No, this isn't right." Well, I just don't see it. So I don't know. I mean, morally, they've been trained to be immoral. Right?
Yeah. Well,
think about it. I mean, if you think about it, you can take a moral person, put them in the military, and it doesn't really make a difference if it's the U.S. military or I would hope that the U.S. military is extremely moral and they don't sit there and purposely bomb residential buildings like the Russians have. I mean, there's no excuse for, and I've seen the pictures, and if anybody hasn't seen the pictures, it's you look on the internet. There are dead bodies everywhere, and these dead bodies are not soldiers. They're old women. They're the elderly, they're kids, this is absolutely mind-boggling that in today's day and age, we've learned absolutely nothing in 100 years.
Well, that we agree to, and that I can fully support you. And I don't get it either. But this is what boggles my mind is how, as a human being, as a person, you can go and do these things and sleep at night and live with yourself. I mean,
okay, well, you got
to
okay. In Russia, you got a choice. You either do it or you get killed, and that's Russia.
But is it really that? Is it really to that extreme? I'd like to know. I wish there were some Russian soldiers that we can ask right now and just tell me. Like,
I think it's
do you
that
really
extreme.
believe in this, or are you in fear of
No, I think they're in fear of retribution.
Because that's what a lot of people told me about World War II and what happened in Germany. They said that a lot of the Germans were afraid if that they didn't commit those atrocities and they didn't commit murder,
that they'd end up in concentration camps or murdered.
Yes.
Yeah.
But at what point in time did you say, hey, wait a minute, this isn't right, and I need to do something?
I've read and watched TV a lot on this, that there's a lot of soldiers that are defecting to Ukraine and that aren't fighting. And basically, if they go back to Russia, they're going to be killed.
Well,
I mean,
well, I hope
kill or be killed.
Well, I hope Ukraine has a policy that says, hey, listen, we will welcome any soldier that gives up their arms and says, listen, I don't want to be a part of this war.
I think they will. I'm hoping they will.
Yeah, I mean, I listen, I don't think killing is right under any condition, by the way. I don't think there's ever a right time to kill. I think there's a time where you may need to in order to protect other life. But I don't think there's ever a time where somebody should be proud of killing somebody else or should be happy about it, right? And I think I don't think it should be celebrated on either side ever. I guess is my point.
I think war should be obsolete. I mean, we gotta switch subjects. See, this is gonna be a fast moving program today. We're supposed to talk about Musk taking over Twitter.
Oh, we're talking about Musk today. Yeah, okay.
I mean, the only thing I have to say is people should be happy. I mean, you're going to get, you've gotten, before Musk takes over Twitter, you got a bunch of crazy people that weren't allowed to post, right? So now if you're like a crazy from the left or a crazy from the right, you're going to have free access to anything you want to post on Twitter, as long as it's not, hey, the movie theater's on fire. And even then, I'd be surprised if it was deleted.
Do you think that's really going to happen?
That the crazies are coming out on Twitter?
It's everyone has said that they want to have free speech and they want to have all these things, but then you have Russia putting misinformation in the 2016 election on Twitter. Everyone has to, all these private companies have to, govern themselves. Otherwise, you have people even more misinformed than they already are.
I think the internet has caused such a big problem with misinformation that I don't think there's any way to stop it. Well, I mean, I don't.
I mean, what if you could put $44 billion somewhere in the world, would it have gone to Twitter? Like, there's a lot of better causes, like
feeding the hungry.
Well, I guess the question: what was his objective? Do you think? What was his objective?
I think his objective was to take control of a platform and allow a lot of free speech, because he's a big free speech kind of advocate. The First Amendment, all that good stuff.
So and now you own it. So
now you own it, so you
can get yourself censored.
That's right.
So wait.
So if
it sounds like you're saying it was an ego. So you're saying it was an ego play.
If
he
Trump
bought it because
$44 billion, he could have bought Twitter instead of creating his whatever network he has created.
Okay, so look by the hook. So you're saying he did it for altruistic reasons.
I'm not saying that at all.
Okay.
I'm not saying that at all.
Or did he do it to feed his ego? Which one?
I think somewhere in between. I think he has a problem with Twitter, sitting there and there was a whole huge situation where people are posting all kinds of ranting and raving and everything else on Twitter, and Twitter came back and said, look, you got to have some sort of basis of what you're writing. And he probably sat there and got hit a couple times on Twitter and said, screw it. I'm going to make it a completely open platform. So I think what's going to happen is you're going to see a lot more misinformation, a lot more crazies coming out on Twitter.
Okay. So let me pose a scenario. So let's say I went out in the street corner
By the way, nice shirt.
Thank you.
They are matching.
They are. We're matchy.
They're the twins.
We're twinsies.
Next time you're on, you got to tell me what color you're wearing, because I could
It's like Parent Trap.
No, but this is interesting. This is what I would do. If I go down to the corner of the street right now and I start making up some fabrication story.
No, you're okay.
The aliens are coming
nobody's
down.
Going to arrest you.
They kidnapped me last night. They put me. Why don't we hold people to the same legal standards as that? I don't get it. Why is there a difference?
No, but you're allowed to say that.
Okay, so if I'm allowed to say it if I'm standing on the street corner, but I'm not allowed to say it if I'm on some kind of digital platform.
I think the problem is that right now you
From my
can't
business,
spew as much hate as is going to come out on Twitter. And I think if you spew hate on a street corner, I think eventually somebody's going to catch up with you. I mean, they have, there's just so much.
Wasn't there that guy on US 1 who was outside by the church, who always had the signs up about how, like,
The world's coming to an end.
like, no, like the mafia.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
the
That he was on.
mafia man.
Yeah, he was on. He was also on the Circle on
Coco Plum.
Sunset. Yeah, yeah. Coco Plum.
Yeah, he was fun, and he never got arrested.
He never got arrested.
Now,
No,
had he would have posted something on Twitter,
about the mafia,
The mob
he
would've got
would
him.
have been
so the
taken
mob
out.
would've got him. Okay, but I listen. I think the fundamental problem here is that where do you draw the line, right? And it's not easy. I think the moral of the story is
It's
not
really
easy.
gray.
Yeah, it's not easy. But do we say, well, if I can reach 100 people, it's okay, but once I get to 1,000, now it becomes a problem? I mean, where does free speech end? And
I don't know.
I wish
authoritarian-
they would censor Kim Kardashian.
I read an editorial the other day
Just remove
about a
her.
lady who is 65 years old, and the editorial was, "COVID didn't kill my mom." Okay, it was written by one of her kids.
Yeah.
COVID misinformation did. Okay, so I mean, I get it, and misinformation probably killed the lady because she didn't get the shots and she
Yeah.
didn't really protect herself with masks and all that other stuff. It was a very touching editorial, but you gotta kind of figure out that some of this stuff really hurts society in the long run, and the misinformation to have an advantage on one side or the other of the political side is really disingenuous.
And that's the whole point of Gloves Off, self-promo. We are about transparency.
God
Moving
love
on
ya.
to In the News.
God love you, Deidre.
Section 3. We have
Oh,
10 months later from Surfside.
okay. So 10 months later. So this is a great conversation because I really like this conversation. 10 months later, nothing has happened since Surfside. There hasn't been any changes in building code. There hasn't been changes in Tallahassee. There hasn't been changes in Dade County. And, but what there's been, okay, and let's go back to politics. This is what's there been. If you turned on 10 months ago, I thought it was a year ago, by the way.
No, 10 months.
10 months. If you turn on the news when that building came down, you saw nothing but photo ops.
Marco Rubio.
It doesn't matter. It was our mayor of Miami-Dade
TLC,
County. It
yes,
was everybody.
it was
Everybody wanted to
DeSantis.
Everybody wanted to be
the hero.
videoed in front of a
Seen.
tragedy, so they could be. Politicians have destroyed Facebook. If you go look at Facebook or the internet, every single other picture or story is about a politician kissing a baby, and they're not doing anything. All they want is, I mean, it's like, okay, here we go. You'll love this one, Deidre. Prime example is Mayor Karen Cunningham in Palmetto Bay. She does nothing.
Ooh, I was wondering how
Yeah,
Palmetto Bay
it's
was
gonna
going to
come
come
up.
into
Okay,
this.
she's done-
We went from Surfside
Okay,
down
but
south.
no, I'll go back to Surfside. She's done nothing in her 4 years or 3.5 years except for kiss babies, hand out proclamations. She's done nothing behind the
Shut
scenes.
the cafecitos down.
Yeah, yeah. She's done nothing. She's done absolutely nothing in the 3.5 years she's been there except for put herself out on the media. And you're having other people do that now in political positions. So instead of sitting there and actually working behind the scenes, listen, I want my politicians to be seen, not heard, or heard or not seen. You know what I mean? I want them working in the back room to try to advance life and make life better for the residents or the citizens that they represent. All they do now is sit there, and whenever there's a tragedy or whenever there's a photo op, they run to it so they can get their face on either Facebook or the news or this or that. They're not doing the work that they were actually elected to do.
And the families still have no idea what happened.
Yeah. So there's nothing-
There was
so-
a Miami Herald
Yeah.
article recently.
I
that
read
was
it. It's
talking
right here.
About how within hours, obviously, we knew about 9/11, what was going on. A plane went in the side of the building, and 10 months later, the families are not even really able to fully grieve because they
Have no
don't
clue.
information.
Yeah. So what they're, I mean, so you had all these people rush, right? It's like what makes the biggest headlines in a week, and then after that, you never hear anything. right?
It's called marketing and branding.
Okay.
And they're a brand.
But
That's what
politicians
are
should not. That's not what they were elected to do. They're not elected to sit in front of a camera and do photo ops. That's not what.
The irony is that this is what Mo and I do for our living.
Yeah, well, but that's okay.
Well,
Actually, it's not okay, but that's what happens, right? So they have all this time, and all they do is take pictures at whether it's go to a high school or whether it's a church or something, and they take pictures and they kiss babies and they shake hands when their real job is to move things forward, and nothing has been moved forward as far as
I'm gonna
Surfside.
I'm gonna give David a hard time again. I'm gonna play devil's advocate again.
And you can play all you want.
I'm gonna be the social justice warrior and devil's advocate of the show.
Okay.
And now I'm gonna put on the devil's advocate hat.
Okay.
So my dilemma here is that, do you think most citizens are ready for the truth and for what they need to do? And if politicians were actually doing the work and being honest and telling them what they want to hear, that they'd be okay with it, or would they lose an election?
I believe in transparency. Okay, good or bad, I believe in transparency. And somebody I work for once said to me, they go, I don't care if it's good news or bad news, but I want to know the news so I can deal with it. Right? That's what they said to me, and I'm like, that's really interesting, because if it's bad news, you can deal with it. You have a game plan. If it's good news, it's good news, right? It makes you feel better, but you still need to know the truth. And the fact of the matter is, by hiding behind all these photo ops, like, okay, Kava does constantly. I mean, she's in every single photo op in the world. Okay. And I happen to like her. Mayor Kava.
Suarez.
Okay. Suarez. Okay. Every single photo op in the world, but they're not doing the work they were elected to do. They rather have their picture on Facebook or in the Miami Herald. And it's once again, it's extremely disingenuous to the purpose that they were elected. They were elected to move things forward and make Miami or Dade County or Palmetto Bay or Pinecrest a better place to live.
And beyond better, what about safe?
Safety, right?
Like,
So Tallahassee's done absolutely nothing. Okay. And meanwhile, I read insurance rates on high rises that were built, before 95 have gone up. This is an interesting statistic. One was, went up 30 to 50% premium increases.
They're either,
Okay.
you're either not able to be insured or you are getting your rates jacked up.
Correct. Okay, anything over 4 stories that was built before 95, you can't get insurance, or your insurance is increased 50%.
And this is as a result of the building.
That's right.
One
building.
So that's their solution.
Well, their solution is, unfortunately, their solution is that a lot of the insurance companies have left the market, and have to go to sub-markets who need to have, higher return on their dollar.
Yeah, people can't afford it.
And so all these homeowners insurance, the homeowners insurance is passed on to the residents, right?
Yeah.
So the fact of the matter is, your monthly condo assessments are going to go through the roof because of the amount of money that's paid in insurance.
And we all know that pricing in South Florida is, already so low and reasonable. I just actually heard this morning that prices are up by about 39%. Already, just for the cost of living. I just think I heard that right now, South Florida is the third most except
No, I actually heard it was second behind New York.
Oh, we're now second?
Yeah, well,
I'm hoping that David ups my fee so that I can get paid more. Inflation has hit hard at Deidre's house.
Yeah.
That's okay. I don't feel bad for you. I know you're her husband.
We're gonna stick with Surfside for the moment.
Yeah. So anyway, Surfside's a disaster. I mean,
and then there's so many
the insurance
lawsuits.
Yeah, I mean, Surfside has just caused a disaster, and you could say, hey, it's a one-off, and it's never going to happen again, right?
How do you know?
And how do you know? And I think the insurance companies are taking advantage of it because it hasn't really happened in recent history that I know of.
Do you think it had anything to do? Like, I don't want to bring up the dreaded. Was it during the last administration in Florida where you couldn't say climate change?
Oh, is that still a thing?
I think you can say it now. I think you just can't say anything about another word we're going to talk about later.
Oh.
But it's on the ocean. It's things shifting.
Okay, fair statement. Am I going to say it? Am I going to
What?
Global warming is that
Oh.
is that the taboo
Is
word
it
here? We're not supposed to say
real?
it.
Is
No,
it
you know what?
not?
I actually think that more and more people believe in global warming. I don't think they want to address it because how much money it's going to cost to address. But if you look at,
David's in denial, or actually, you like it because that's why you sweat more.
yeah, there you go.
Global warming.
Wait, so hold on.
Global
So
warming.
is he a believer or a non-believer?
Oh, I'm a believer.
He's a believer.
Oh, he's a
Oh, no,
believer?
no, I'm absolutely a believer. As a matter of fact, there's some charts out there on the internet you can find that actually show in 2050 what Florida is going to look like. And it's really, really,
I'm
really
gonna
scary.
have oceanport property from
yeah.
High
Well,
Pines.
that's what I figured.
I'm not going to be alive, so
Yeah,
it's
I
okay.
figured if I live in my home long enough, eventually it's going to be
I'll be,
I'm coming in.
me
High
think how-
Pines.
I'll be 90. I might be alive.
Yeah,
No,
well,
probably not.
Well, I don't think the debate is whether global warming exists or not. I think it's the
No.
rate at which it's changing.
Right,
Yeah.
but,
And
but
whether
I'm
or
saying,
not-
could that be a factor into why this collapse? Like, just thinking,
The underlying water table
Right,
is
I
it
mean,
rising to the
yeah, and they're drilling into the ground for all of these condos and higher
don't-
and higher, and
I don't know. I got to tell you something. Global warming could have been it. We had some work done. We have some buildings on either side of where my office is. And there was construction going on both sides and some hammering and stuff like that. And they were coming over every day and this goes back a couple of years, check this cracks on the building to make sure that they didn't,
Oh wow.
the cracks on this building
Yeah.
to make sure that the hammering and stuff
Mhm.
on the buildings next door didn't
and they were
expand.
doing that
Yeah.
next to Champlain.
Yeah, but don't forget that they had known that there was a problem in that building for 5 years, and the condo association didn't want to address it because the
they
amount of
didn't
money
have the funds.
they didn't have the funds, right?
And
So
so now everything is more expensive, and you can't get insurance. It's higher. The cost of living is higher. So there's probably many more buildings that are older that
Yeah.
don't have the funds to do the.
but they're going to have to.
repairs.
They're going to. I mean, I got to tell you, I really think, and I may get some pushback, but I think the condo association, for the most part, was responsible for what happened.
Well, I think if they knew ahead of time that there was a
They
problem,
knew ahead of time.
Yeah. They
I don't know if they knew. I don't know if they,
I don't know if
the
they knew
engineers.
the severity. Or
Yeah,
what
I don't
the
think they knew the
consequence
severity
would
and stuff
be.
like that, but they knew there was a problem. They were putting it off because of the cost associated with it. And what they're doing is playing Russian roulette with people's lives. And 97 people died in the building, somewhere around there. So I think that's a real issue with people ignoring the fact that there's structural cracks in a building and saying, well,
it's not a big deal.
it's
Don't
not a
worry
big deal.
about it.
It won't. Don't worry about it. And the building collapsed. Now, could it collapse quicker because of the buildings were? I introduced Mo already.
No, we're going on to our next segment.
Oh, we're going on to the next one. Okay. So anyway,
we
so
have our
I'm
in-studio guest
I was just
today.
told to show up here today, and they're going to tell me what I'm talking about. But I think the
I
fact,
just said I was supposed to show up so I could make David look good, because compared to me.
yeah, well,
So introductions.
Mo Banana,
Mo Banana.
Mo Banana.
Longtime resident of South Florida. Love the state, love the city. I love people. I believe that everybody should just get along. We should all love each other, and don't hate somebody for being different.
I 100%
That's it.
agree with don't hate somebody for being different.
So,
Find
So
something.
If you haven't figured out, some of our topics today are
oh well.
cancel culture.
Oh, cancel culture, and let's talk
The-
about the don't say gay
Don't
bill.
don't say it.
Don't say
Don't-
gay.
don't
Okay, so
say it.
anyway,
You just said it.
I know that this has been divided the state of Florida, but I do want to read.
It even got Disney, the happiest
Yeah,
place
it's
in
on
the
earth.
world,
Yeah.
involved.
So I got to tell you something. Here's the bill, and I've read the bill, and I think this bill is. I think the people that have come and out against this bill have not read it because
You got called out on Facebook for not using the appropriate name, and so now you've read it.
I've read it. I've read it, correct. And I got a serious problem with the people that have issue with this bill. And I don't think you've read it.
No, I have not read the
Explain why.
bill. Yeah,
Okay,
give us
but I'll explain why. Okay, so you go through the whole bill, and the bill's about notifying parents, about certain issues of the students' welfare, and it's a
the
student welfare
ages
bill.
of the students are what, kindergarten through.
Yeah. Well, I'll
third
get to that. So I mean, it's there's one paragraph in this bill that talks about, don't talk about sexuality. Okay, and let me see if I can find it because I'd like to read
grade. Is
this.
the word gay in there?
No, there's no word gay in this whole bill. I mean,
Don't
it's
say it.
don't say it. Okay, so paragraph 3 of this bill, and it's interesting. Anybody who says that this bill is a mischaracterization of justice or whatever the phrase is, it says classroom instruction by student personnel or third parties on sexual orientation or gender identity may not occur in kindergarten through third grade or in a manner that is not age appropriate or developmentally appropriate for students in accordance with state standards. If I sent my kindergartner to first grade, or my child to first grade, I sure as hell would not want them talking about gender assignments, about sexuality, about anything else.
But what if there is a child in that classroom who
is different?
Is not the typical
There's
child, or their parent, they have 2 dads or 2 moms. And how is that?
That's not in this bill. This child can actually talk about it. The teacher can't talk about it. So
what if the student comes up and says, I have a question about Johnny. Why is Johnny now called Jane?
Or why does Johnny have 2 dads?
Well, first of all, Johnny is Jane wouldn't happen between third grade.
It could. No, it absolutely could.
Okay. I don't agree with that. Okay, because I don't think. Okay, number 2 is it's the teacher that can't talk about it.
So if the child goes to a teacher and the teacher is that child's source of information,
the teacher should say to whoever it is, go talk to your parents. And I think that's appropriate. I absolutely don't think that teachers should be talking about this kind of information with kids that are in school under third grade. I think it's inappropriate. And I have to listen, I'm not a conservative. I'm not a conservative, but I absolutely 100% agree with this bill.
So all I have to say, David, is
I'm a liberal, Max.
What changes the summer before 4th grade? What is it?
Well, actually, if it was up to me in elementary school, this would not be talked about at all in the until 6th grade.
Well, I think
okay,
I think we got to respect.
I think it's inappropriate.
Well, I think we got to respect parents. I think really what we got to be cognizant of is that it is, I think, a parental choice. I don't necessarily think it's a question of right or wrong. I think we have to be sensitive to the fact that for some parents, for example, David feels that it's inappropriate. For Deidre, perhaps it's fine, right? And I don't think there's a right.
First of all, their brain. I don't think a kid's brain through third grade is formed enough.
What happens at 4th grade?
Well, let me ask you a question.
That's fine. I would have made it 5th grade.
When does bullying start? Do you remember when bullying started?
Kindergarten.
Kindergarten? Okay.
I remember a child getting locked in the bathroom in kindergarten, and there was a whole story about this girl who will go unnamed, who she repeated kindergarten. And when I started kindergarten, it was her 2nd time. And there was rumors going around that she repeated kindergarten because she killed the fish.
But did this bullying have to do with anything with sexuality or gender identity or?
No, I had my shoes actually stolen in kindergarten in the bathroom, taken off my feet.
Yeah, I never apologized for that, did I?
A person of a different
He was the bully.
Yeah. So the point being is, teachers should not be talking about sexual. I don't think sexuality should be a conversation in elementary school.
Well, I think the point is,
unless parents want to do it.
I think that's the key. I think so I have to sympathize as a parent. I think I have to sympathize with the fact that some parents may not feel comfortable. I'm kind of torn on this one because I'm a firm believer, and I saw kids get bullied in school.
What were they bullied about?
And I stuck up for a lot of these kids.
Yeah, but you can talk about bullying. You just can't talk about sexuality. You can't talk about,
So how did this become the "Don't Say Gay" bill?
Oh, by the way, let me preface this whole conversation by saying some of these bills that are passed are strictly for political purposes.
Yes.
And we all know that the governor of Florida, is going to try to run for president. So what he's trying to do is appease his base by coming up with stuff that we might have not needed at all. Okay, but that's what DeSantis wants to do. So I mean, you can see that in a lot of the stuff that he's trying to pass right now with Disney World and with this bill. So, but I still don't think that before 3rd grade, sex, a gender or anything like that should be discussed with kids.
So 4th grade is okay.
No, I don't know. I just said if it was up to me, it would be 5th grade.
Okay. Well, I think that's
I mean, seriously, I think they.
Do parents collectively vote at what age, and do we take the majority winner? I mean, how do we decide?
I don't know. But can we hit that chat button and see if anybody sent in any kind of how to move the button over there to chat? There we go.
They're not. Don't worry.
Okay. There we go. Okay. So, by the way, we never discussed this, but if you have a comment or anything, you can send it in, and I'll read it and I'll discuss it. It's just inappropriate. I mean, it's just like why don't we just take our 3rd grade kids to R-rated movies?
Yeah.
All
I mean, they
I
draw.
think, I think Mo has some things he wants to say on this topic.
Okay, Mo.
Oh, you want to hear my?
You got cut off by David.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, did I? Thank you.
Well, thank you, DJ.
You know
I
what they
didn't know
say
you
about
cared about
producers,
me.
right? They're supposed to be seen and not heard.
Doesn't do this. He's never coming back.
Go ahead.
Listen, I think one that we need to stop bullying. I definitely think that people need to be. There needs to be some discussion about the fact that there's some people who are different. There's some kids that are different. There's some kids, and I saw this bullying. Whether, why does this kid have two moms? Why does this kid have two dads? I'm not in any way, shape, or form try to form an opinion or tell you whether it's right or wrong. It's not my agenda. It's not my place. It's not my place to tell you it's right or wrong.
It just is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is. But I think there should be, as a teacher, a responsibility to teach David that Deidre's different. Deidre may not have the same home structure as you. She may not have the same, father, mother identity in terms of her house. So she may not be the typical girl. She may not be the typical boy, and it's okay. And just because she has a different upbringing, that it doesn't mean it's okay for everybody else to bully her. It doesn't mean to treat her differently. It doesn't mean it's not right to alienate her. And that part of it, I saw it growing up. Luckily, I wasn't bullied. I was bullied for other reasons, but not for those reasons. I was bullied plenty.
It wasn't because of a lack of hair, was it?
Yeah, well,
Okay.
David knows all about that.
but I saw these kids grow up, and I know that it was really tough on them. And I stood up for some of them. And I would tell folks, if I would see it happening, I'd say, hey, listen, what's the big deal? Just because something is different, just because something, it may not be right for you, but it's not your place to judge or to.
Okay, so you ready for this? Why can't they just take the kid, who's doing the bullying, bring him in the principal's office, bring in their parents, and have a sit-down conversation?
Well, a lot of times.
And by the way, that's not addressed in this bill. What's addressed in this bill is talking about sexuality, and that's what's addressed, and it's only one paragraph.
How does Disney get involved in this?
Yeah, good question.
I don't know how Disney got it.
And how did it turn to don't say gay?
And if the word gay
is not in
this
the bill,
how did it become the don't
I
say
think
gay
I think the media jumped on it. I think what happened was, the media needed something to get people to read the papers.
Ukraine wasn't enough?
No, well, this happened.
But listen, by the way, I do respect the fact that David says, hey, listen, I don't feel it's appropriate for my child. So I am very respectful of that fact either. I'm not sure if third grade is the right year for me either. Maybe I feel it's fourth grade. Maybe Deidre thinks it's first grade. So I do feel that in the context of the bill, in the context of the bill where I'm going to teach you about sexuality, because that kind of goes back to, I don't remember, I'm too old now to remember, but when I took the whole birds and the bee, what we talked about.
I think that's in sixth or seventh grade.
No, I feel like it was elementary.
I saw it in elementary. I remember seeing my first video.
Traumatized at birth.
Well, it may have been in fifth. It may have been in fifth grade. I don't know when they talk about.
Yeah,
they
showed us the video with the sperm and ovulation. And it was. I remember somewhere in elementary school, but I can understand where some families may feel that it's not appropriate if their sons or daughters are not engaging in intercourse or bearing children at the age. Then why do they need to learn it at that age?
I just can't believe that this whole bill, and this bill actually, if you read this bill, it's really interesting because it gives a lot of parents rights, right? That they didn't have before. And they just they want to throw the baby out with the bathwater.
It wasn't that parents didn't have that right before. It just wasn't formalized in that teachers can't
I don't know if they had
that.
the right before, but I got to tell you something. Everybody should read this bill before sitting there saying, "Oh, it's a terrible don't say gay bill,"
Okay, so
which is ridiculous.
How did Disney get Disney now?
Yeah. How did Disney get tied into this? Yeah.
Disney is now going to, on their TV stations or their network, PSAs about transgender children and all this stuff because they've somehow, and I don't know, which is why I keep asking how they got.
I don't know how they got wrapped into it. You'd have to. I don't know.
I saw certain things about how people felt like they didn't step in quick enough to either have an opinion against or for it. I saw recently that there was the most recent movie that came out. People were saying that it was too gay for Disney, which Disney, all of their videos seem pretty gay to me. Like, I don't know.
I don't know, but don't you think kids right now have enough problems if they watch the news that they don't need to be?
Well, they shouldn't be.
They don't need to be.
News.
Well, but whatever. So they don't watch the news. But don't you think that the kids, when they're growing up now, have a lot more access to information that we didn't have, and kids should be sheltered a little bit better.
Yeah,
and they're not.
Too much information.
There's just too much information for kids, especially if you're talking about all this stuff.
Yeah, they can't process it.
Yeah, I mean, they can't process it. And the problem is that we really should be protecting kids, and we're not protecting kids by some of this stuff.
So,
I mean, and honestly, the parents, once again, parents have a right to determine what your kids should hear and they shouldn't hear, what they're exposed to. And
I
if
agree with David on that one.
Yeah.
I mean, ultimately, it's not the state's responsibility. It's not the school's responsibility. It's the parents' responsibility, and it's our choice as parents to determine. Again, as long as we're not perpetuating any kind of hatred or ill feelings towards anyone else, we may choose to decide when it's the right time to have that conversation. And I do have to agree with David on that one, where you shouldn't force it on anybody. So,
all right, so okay.
David, based on your opinions today, you may be cancel cultured.
Oh, that's okay. That's another great subject.
Mo,
Wait,
Mo
that-
you have some thoughts on this.
I thought he was already canceled. Actually,
Another great conversation that's brought to you by the left wing liberals, right? Cancel culture, where you can't say anything because if you do, somebody's going to get hurt.
Anything in 1980, because it could come back and
hit you, right? So
in 2022.
It's really funny because when I was growing up,
it's come back.
You ever remember the rhyme "Sticks and stones may break your bones, but words will never hurt you"?
Now
I mean, this is like, oh my God, you say anything wrong and we're going to cancel
Twitter.
you. And yeah, I mean, the fact of the matter is, you got comedians, you know what they're trying to do is take away your freedom of speech, right?
So you thought it was okay for Will Smith to smack?
Oh no, but that's no. Not at all. That's not cancel. That's assault.
Smack. It was a sucker punch heard around the world.
Is that assault or battery? I think that's battery. Assault is verbal, or maybe I got it flipped around. Whatever.
It was definitely assault.
Yeah, it was assault.
Yeah,
I felt assaulted for him.
So no, but I mean, the fact of the matter is, this cancel culture is another. It's these political parties trying to come in, and whether you're far right or far left, they're trying to divide everybody. Right? I really think this is all a play. Okay, and I'm an independent. We've discussed this numerous times. I think this is all a play by political parties to try to divide us. I mean, we're divided enough as it is. Okay, as a country, we literally you can't get anybody to reach across the aisle, even though they agree on certain subjects.
What was that?
If you're a Republican and you vote for a Democratic bill, they'll cut your funding. Okay, because it's happened in Tallahassee before. I've read stories. Let Mo talk. Oh, sorry about that. I'll let you talk. Anyway, but I'm on a rampage. Okay, so
did you like me so much?
I'm on a so I mean, it's just awful. And I think all this stuff that you can't sit there and you can't say this and you can't say that is just hogwash. If you don't like what you're hearing, turn it off. Walk away and don't listen to it. Go ahead. I'll give you 5 minutes.
I can't argue. Makes sense. No, I mean, well, I think I do 100% agree with you about the whole left and right. And I went through this a lot. I'm very moderate. I don't believe in left or right, frankly. I don't even understand this whole concept of left or right.
I don't see color.
I don't see color. No, I think
there's no color in left and right.
I think it's the most idiotic thing ever.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm left, I'm right, I'm this, I'm that. It's like, why do we constantly feel like we have to label people? And I subscribe to thoughts and beliefs that I think we talked in the last show. Like, I believe in free education.
Yeah.
I believe that education should be free. I think it's an investment in our future. I think it's the best thing for our kids. And I think no matter how you slice it and dice it, the more educated our population is, the better off everyone's going to be as a whole. So I think education should be free. And I don't mean free, we just give out money. I have plans behind it, but I think it should be free. But
does that include college?
I believe that everybody should get a right of education stipend to use however you'd like to use it. I'm not saying you have to go to university. You can go to trade school. You can go to beautician school. And I'm not saying you should be rich or poor to receive it. I'm saying everybody should get an education stipend.
Isn't that a form of socialism?
Well, that's okay. There you go. The minute you say this, you're a socialist.
I'm asking you. I'm not labeling you a socialist. Okay, I'm not, and I'm not going to cancel you for your opinion.
You just
what I'm just saying.
I'm not going to be welcome back to the show.
What I'm asking you is, it's a form of socialism. I believe that healthcare should be free. I think one of your inalienated rights in the United States of America should get health care. There's no reason in the world that African Americans have a higher death rate when they get cancer, okay, than an average white person. Okay.
And got COVID more.
Okay, and they got COVID more, and they died COVID from more. Their access to health care is limited compared to other racial groups. Okay, I think that's
Demographics.
I think that
Demographics is
yeah,
better.
I think that's disgusting.
I would agree
Okay,
with you. You know,
so
I
but
think
I
that's
have
true.
people that I know that don't believe in that. They think that you with the amount of money you make, it gives you access to certain health care, just like certain cars or certain houses. And I don't. I feel that health care should be given to everybody. I'll let Mo talk. There you go. I'm just gonna sit here and be quiet. Maybe we'll increase our viewership.
But he's so interesting. I like to hear him talk.
Well, but Mo has a whole PDF of things that you brought with you.
Oh no, I'm enjoying this, and I
No,
think
go ahead, go through your
no,
PDF.
but I actually enjoy talking with David because I do think he also listens, even though he likes to banter and he has strong opinions. I do feel that he listens, and I think when he
Yeah.
hears a point that resonates, he acknowledges it, which I think.
So
is
we'll
a-
go back to let's go
very
back to school.
Yeah.
Okay, so in
No,
Russia.
but let's talk about healthcare for a second. though,
No,
because-
let's talk about school because you
Yeah.
brought up school, and I like the idea of school. So in Russia, you take an aptitude test when you're a kid,
correct.
or this used to be the way it was. Okay, and that aptitude test when we're a kid determines how much education you get.
Yeah, but there's no difference. We do the same nonsense here in the States with the SAT.
No, but I'm
and
just
the
telling you,
yeah.
But I mean, yeah, but it actually determines how
Well,
much.
yeah,
And,
It matters if you go to
gifted
college, it
has
matters
been
everything, right?
cancel cultured.
Yeah.
The term gifted. I used to be gifted.
they used
Yeah.
to call me special.
I know, and you got that special little yellow bus that drove you to school. So no, but the fact of the matter, I don't think that's appropriate because you could be, you don't have your motivation might not be there.
Well, why do we have to control anybody's lives? Why can't we let people strive? And listen, I may not be as smart as David. I may not be as
I think you're
good-looking
smarter actually.
I may not be as good looking as David, but you know
Well,
what?
that you're definitely true.
Yeah. But I may wake up every
Yeah.
morning at 5 a.m. and I may decide to work and just give it my all.
Mhm.
And I would be more. I may succeed in certain academics that you would probably fly through, but just because you have the lack of motivation or drive. So I don't believe we should be limited by a test per se. I don't think any kid should be told, hey, you can or cannot do something. I think you should be encouraged to try it. Hey, listen, go try it. And if you don't think you want to do it at some point in time, but you don't think it's worth your investment in time, then don't do it. But nobody should predetermine what you can or cannot do.
I feel like that, like what you said, like about the trying and the failing, we've gotten into a world of everybody has to be bubble wrapped and there's participation awards.
Oh, I'm going
and
to give you a
there's-
trophy just for being here today, by the
Yeah,
way.
like you show up, you get a
Yeah.
ribbon.
Yeah.
Like, no, I went home sad if I didn't win.
Well,
like that was
you're
like,
gonna laugh because my wife cracks up on me because sometimes I tell my kids, "Well, life's just not fair. Deal with it."
Yeah.
Dad,
No, I mean it's an accurate statement. I mean, life's
but-
not fair.
but life is not fair has been cancel cultured
yeah.
because now everyone
Yeah, but
is,
that's not reality. Cancel culture isn't reality. Life's not fair is reality.
Well,
right. But
Okay,
I
but
mean-
giving trophies to all kids, that's like me going to college and you flunked a bunch of courses, but don't worry about it. We're going to give you your degree anyway. You know what? You got to work to achieve.
yeah. Well,
Okay.
I think people need to be told that. Listen, effort has merit. Trying has merit. And believe it or not, listen, I coach a lot of entrepreneurs. I deal with a lot of folks, and I tell them, listen, failure has merit, and you should never be afraid of
Oh
failing.
no, failing you learn.
Well, no, there's a saying, and I'm not going to say I made this up, but they say is if you've never failed, it means you've never tried.
No, if you never failed, you've never learned.
Yeah. Well,
Okay,
maybe-
I mean that I mean
it's the same thing.
Yeah.
well, yeah. No, it's not really if you think about it because at a failure you learn where if you succeed you don't.
Well, correct. And if you
Okay?
and if you've never failed, it means you've never really tried.
Tried.
So I think we have to agree that we're both right on this.
Okay, okay. Knuckles. Anyway, so I mean, but so you have what bothers me is you have people with potential that are out there that don't have the economic ability to go to college. It's a waste. It really is.
Well,
Is
So-
that socialism?
I don't know if it's social.
Well, that's the problem. If
you
I want to give money to everybody so they have that opportunity, then it's socialism. I'm immediately identified as a liberal or the libtard word. And now I got a whole other.
Well, are you a liberal?
Are you?
I don't define myself.
Is
as
Bernie
a
gotta
liberal.
tell you,
Sanders on our show?
I'll define myself. I'm a liberal when it comes to,
We're gonna put this on your dating profile.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean,
gonna be on his Tinder
I'm a liberal when it comes to social items, but I'm a conservative when it comes to fiscal responsibility of government.
Oh, don't
I
get-
mean, the government's not fiscally responsible.
oh,
I mean, it's just
I
not.
think everybody could agree to that. I mean,
I don't know. Can you? Would you?
Yeah.
I believe in a small government. I mean, our government's too big.
oh, absolutely.
I mean, it's
You really-
ridiculous.
you
I
believe
can't
in
play
the
devil's advocate on this one. I'd have to agree with
old
you.
Yeah.
Republican way.
I believe in it. Yeah, that's right. The Republicans don't believe that anymore.
Well, I don't think there's ever been a time in history where big government has proven to be,
No, it's ridiculous. Big government's ridiculous. They have their hands in your pockets all the time, and they want to spend $100,000 on the toilet seat.
I would like to challenge somebody that can show me a government program that's ever been done efficiently and under budget, or has been a huge success.
No, because there's just too many people. I mean, you got to understand how big the government is, and they can't get I mean, something that big, it's hard to. It's like a rock rolling down a hill, right? Or a boulder rolling down a hill. Something that big, you just can't freaking stop. And that's the way our government is. We have to slim down our government, and you got to be able to be fired from our government. Which, if you know people in the post office, term limits works fine too. I agree with term limits. And by the way, term limits does not include becoming a lobbyist after you're not in office anymore. They should be strict.
But how did we get here from cancel culture?
That's
right. Because we said if we have a difference of opinion, that's how we got here.
Yeah.
Immediately you want to get labeled, and we got to the right, to the left, and I think that's how it all started.
And you're to the left, and I'm in between. You can't come on my show anymore if you're far left. No, is that far?
Maybe we should switch these.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, to them, I'm on the
So what did you bring? I know you brought some good stuff. So
we talked about some of these actually. The whole DeSantis and Disney. We briefly spoke about cancel culture. I think it's scary. By the way, I think cancel culture has become extremely scary. I think it's I mean, I don't understand how it's okay to start telling people how they need to think. I mean, I may not agree with.
Oh, that sounds like communism right there.
Yeah. I mean, well, that's actually the scary part. And I'm actually very, I think. Liberal and very open when it comes to communication and respecting people and stuff like that. But at the same time, I've told my friends, I said, listen, I'm okay if someone doesn't like me. I'm okay if someone says
I think it's a badge of honor if somebody doesn't like me personally.
Well, and they may not like me for the color of my skin, my funny accent, the fact that I'm not as good looking as David. It's okay. I don't feel compelled that I have to change their mind. As long as they're not inflicting.
You'd have to be really, really, really insecure to want everybody to like you. Yeah. Either that or a politician. I mean, seriously.
No, but not even to like you, but to have to force people to think that or to feel the same way that you do. Right? I believe.
Wouldn't the world be boring if everybody thought the same as you?
Well,
what would you learn? Well, I mean, people have changed my opinions.
That would literally be canceling culture. Like,
that would be literally canceling.
I mean,
culture. You're right.
I mean, literally. Have you ever met anybody who's had such a intelligent argument that it's actually changed your opinion? Eloquent, intelligent.
Yeah,
I mean, I've changed my opinion. I've had guests on the show that have changed my opinion on subjects. I walked away and go, they're absolutely right. Can you imagine if everybody thought the same way? First of all, if everybody thought the same way, you never have. Think about this.
We'd be robots.
We wouldn't have.
No. You'd have no. You probably have no inventions in pharmaceuticals. You'd have no technology inventions because it takes a whole society with different opinions and different knowledge to develop things and move forward. And if everybody thought the same way, you'd never get anywhere in life or anywhere in society.
Well, I think more importantly, it's okay to think differently. This goes back to being different. It's the same thing. I don't have to agree with all your thoughts.
Yeah.
I don't have to agree with everything you say, but I'm sure as hell going to respect you. And as long as your thoughts and your ideas don't impede on my liberties, then I'm okay with it.
I'm okay with different thoughts as long as they're not immoral, unethical, and hurtful.
Yeah. Well,
okay.
Slap in the face.
So to me, if you want to have a different opinion. That's fine as long as it doesn't, really hurt anybody.
So we're about to wrap up.
I was going to talk about Leah Thomas. We'll have to save that for another day.
Oh, you can wait.
No, it's okay.
No, we can talk about that another day. You can come back in a couple of weeks. I love having you on the show. My rubber chicken's up there.
It's below you.
Oh, my rubber chicken's below me.
We have a segment.
It kind of looks a little like you. More hair though.
He says he's saying I'm a chicken.
Anyway, we have a segment called Chicken Shit Award. And I swear I'm going to give the Chicken Shit Award to Putin every single week until they stop the invasion.
Yeah, but he's too scared to stop it. That's the problem.
Putin, there he is. The whack job that's endangering the whole world right there. And by the way,
he's enjoying the view, looking at your Chicken Shit Award.
By the way,
by the way, it's a lot easier to wage a war when it's not your life on the line.
Oh no! By the way, I would have more respect for him if he took a gun and went over there and started fighting himself.
Ukrainian president,
Yeah. Oh.
Zelensky, is on the battlefield every day.
Every day.
Every day.
And if you look at all
I'm
the pictures of
so
Putin,
impressed.
Yeah.
He hasn't changed his shirt in 64 days. Every day he has
something
a
in common
short
with him.
sleeve
Yeah.
green army t-shirt on, and I'm like, it's incredible.
What makes you think it's the same shirt? Maybe he's got 20 of the same ones.
A million of them, and
Yeah.
it's fighting decision fatigue. You know how
Yeah.
a lot of the presidents have a million of the same suits, so that you don't have to think.
Yeah, you're not worrying
You have
about one more thing.
20,000 decisions you have to make each day,
Yeah.
and he says the green shirt is for me.
I like the green
Well,
shirt.
listen, the days of George Washington are over, where you would actually.
Well, he was a general.
Yeah. Well, he was a general, and he
Yeah.
would take point on the battlefield and lead the charge. Now it's
Well, that's
easy.
because he was a general.
Apparently it's not over though.
Well,
He's bringing
listen,
it back.
the fact of the matter is, if you look at any pictures of him, he is literally any picture of him now. He's at a table here, 20 feet away are his
Putin.
cabinet.
Right, I'm talking
20
about
feet
the
away. I mean,
Ukrainian
it's
president.
yeah. I mean, Putin is the biggest. I mean, the
I
guy.
think he's afraid of being killed by somebody.
I think he should be killed.
in
If
his
somebody,
cabinet.
I got to tell you something.
No, we don't kill
Okay,
people.
I would personally kill him myself. Okay, if I could get close to him, because
Next
that's
week, David is getting
Okay,
the chicken
Dave-
Cheeto award.
okay, because literally-
I don't think he would do that.
I would do that, because I got to tell you something. What he's done is he's thrown the whole world in chaos. Nobody's learned anything from the Second World War. He's sitting there and he's got his visor saying it's the Third World War. I mean, it's just absolutely lunacy what's going on over there, and nobody has learned. You hope that society can advance.
Was it
Okay.
at the
Well, by killing
you-
him, you would be going back to exactly being the. You're doing exactly what you hate the most. You'd
No,
your own
I'd be doing it
hypocrite.
for society.
well, isn't it? There's an expression about if you don't learn from history, you're doomed
To repeat it.
repeat it.
That's
Yeah.
absolutely correct.
And we are repeating it.
So, David, there's a piece of paper
Oh.
on your.
Oh. God, you know what? She's so good. Okay, to
As
learn
we wrap up today.
as we wrap up today, and hopefully you guys have all enjoyed watching this. And if you're not watching it live, thanks for tuning in later. To learn about next week's show, follow Gloves Off on Facebook or subscribe via our website, Gloves Off with David Singer. I'm sorry, glovesoffwithsinger.com. You think I know that like the back of my head?
And you can see it on the bottom. And there is a sign up button at the bottom of the website.
Oh, you're so good. She's so good, right? I'm still not giving you a raise, but you're so good. Anyway, thanks for everybody tuning in. Thanks for coming by. I love it when you come by, because we actually can have an intelligent conversation, which, I can't with Gene Flynn. But that's beside the point. Gene, love you.
Thanks
Just
for having me,
joking.
David. Always a pleasure.
Anyway, sign in next week. We're gonna hopefully be talking about some more interesting subjects, and we'll hit. What is it next week? Is be kind to your pet.
Be
We-
kind to your animal.
Be
It
kind
is
to your animal.
Also, Nurses Week.
Nurses Week. So thank you for all the first responders.
Yes, and it also Cinco de Mayo.
Oh, well, it's okay. I'm not
We're
allowed to
gonna
drink
have
anymore.
Chips and salsa.
Yeah, there we go. Oh, that's great. We should bring in some chips and salsa. I also
He's
want.
so great with a microphone.
Yeah.
Like crunch, crunch, crunch.
And that's it. Thanks for everybody. Stay safe. Thankfully, we're not in a pandemic anymore, from what I read in the Herald.
According to Fauci.
According to Fauci, although I got to tell you something, a good friend of mine just got COVID last week, which I'm like,
God, that should be a whole show
I
by
mean,
itself.
oh no, it's
How
60.
do we get out of pandemic mode? Oh, okay, I think we're done.
No,
Yeah.
Dave, read that. Read that.
the
Okay, we're gonna go. We're gonna go and wrap this up. But I got to tell you something. I read in the paper the other day, or on the internet, that over 60% of our countries had
The
Had-
majority of
Yeah.
people have had, most Americans was the headline, have had COVID.
Some of us multiple times.
That's
Yeah.
crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I'm a minority in that fact. You're not. You're in the majority, and you're in the majority too. I got very strong, antibodies that kill anything that comes in my body.
It's called vodka.
Yeah, that's what it is. Anyway, here's to everybody out there. Thank you, and have a great night.
Thank you. Take care, everyone. Bye.
Bye.